Hi, it's Jory with Taitland Studio. Welcome back to another episode. And in today's video, I will be showing you how I built this breakfast nook table here. Now, there was a pre-existing bench in these people's homes. Now, they needed a custom design table, so obviously nothing store-bought would have worked, but it's made out of ash, and the top and the top is made out of 8/4 material, and the bottom is made out of 6/4, and then the center pillar piece is made out of a combination of 8/4 and 6/4. So now I've just sort of taken all my time sort of measuring all those different pieces, and now I'm just cutting them to length here on the miter saw. And you can see Toby's keeping me company there. But once I cut those all to the rough length, I am just running them through the jointer here. Now, a lot of these pieces ended up sort of cut in different sections and this and that. So this first part of the video is just me doing both the the lower part and the upper part, and there's sort of different clips of it, so I'll sort of jump back and forth. But this is the material I'm just cutting for the lower section. So I've run them through the jointer and a planer, and I just took off the edge on the table saw. So now what I'm doing is I'm just using my domino here, and I'm just cutting the slots in it so that when I do the glue up, those tenons will hold those boards aligned so that they won't slip up and down as the clamps squeeze into the wood, into the boards there as I clamp them up and tighten them. That's the one nice advantage of using a domino for this. It just keeps those boards nice and flat, so when I do glue them up, they just stay straight. So after I've glued them up, just going through the sanding process, and you can see I kind of jumped through that, but here we're back to the top now. Now I didn't do all the footage because it's the same for the top and the bottom, but I'm just cutting the angles off on the tops. So now I had to be careful of placing those dominoes so I didn't, have them show on the exposed edge. So there was a lot of time taking on just sort of planning it out and, setting those pieces in place and putting the dominoes in the correct space. Now I did oversize it quite a bit. I wanted to make sure that I had lots of wiggle room. You can see Toby, he's feeling like, hey, give me some attention here, hang out with me. And I'm like, no, stay still, no, get away, you pesty dog. Okay, I'll just hold you as I make that final cut. So, but yeah, after I did that, I did a chamfer on the underside of that top table. Now, even though it was 8/4 material, those boards actually came in probably almost at 10/4. So I don't know if they were cut wrong at the mill or what, but anyways, so here now I'm working in that center pillar place, and I have the rails and the stiles. So you can see that the stiles are the vertical pieces, and then the rails are the horizontal pieces. So I am just milling them down here. Now, they are sort of the offcuts of that tabletop, those pieces, and I'm just sort of marking everything out. And here I'm just putting the groove in on the router table here. Now that groove is going to hold that center panel, and after I've kind of put that groove in, I'm just cutting those rails and stiles to the right lengths. Now I didn't do much of a deep groove in there, so I did end up using some dominoes in there just to give some extra stability for that center part. And then once I've done that, I'm just actually cutting the pieces for those center panels. Now, the supplier didn't have any 4/4 ash in stock, so I ended up just resawing some of the 8/4 that I had left over. So first I do my initial pass on the table saw there, and I ended up taking it over to the bandsaw, but my bandsaw wasn't really set up very good, and the blade was drifting, and I was fiddling with it, and I was fighting with it quite a bit, and ended up gouging in, and yeah, I was just really struggling. So I ended up just sort of cutting them in half, and then I just completed that cut. And then after I did that, I just sort of took them over and I milled them all down. There's quite a few boards there, so just jointing them and planing them and finally with all those boards done, they're down to about 3/4 of an inch. And here I'm just sort of taking them out and sort of aligning them there and sort of measuring it, because the sides were not, it wasn't a square, it was a rectangle. So just basically take all the boards and measure it out, and just getting them in the clamps here, and just sort of, you know, checking all the boards and making sure the grain looks good and the alignment, and just sort of applying the glue here. I didn't bother with dominoes or anything like that, just because it was pretty thin. And I do have a drum sander, so after I glued them all up, I just ran those boards through the drum sander, so it made really quick work of flattening them out. And then I just came back after with a hand sander, because that drum sander has a tendency to leave some vertical sanding lines. So yeah, I just do that, and then take them over to the table saw, and then just kind of making them into the final shape here. And so finally now I'm just actually doing a dry fit here of the piece. Now you can see that center board, it's actually got some stain on the edge. Now that center board actually kind of floats within those rails and stiles. So what you do is you're going to want to apply some stain on the edges there, because if you don't, what happens is as that wood expands and contracts, you'll actually see a visible line of the raw ash there. So I did apply that stain just so that if it does move, well, when it does move, it you won't see that line. So yeah, just kind of attaching it here and banging all the pieces in, and you can see it really starting to come together. Now those boards were, you know, you can see I didn't do the best job here of kind of to the camera work here, but anyways, I finally clamp it up. But those boards, they do come out, and the grain pattern came out really nice. And so for that center pillar, how I did end up joining it was I did a miter all the way around, and so I cut those at a 45-degree angle, and I'm just using my domino to put the slots in. Now again, this is for alignment purposes, and I'm just applying the glue. And because with all those 45s in there and not having those dominoes, that glue up would have been extremely difficult to keep everything in the right place. But those dominoes keep them aligned properly. Now, if you don't have a domino, a biscuit joiner would work great, or dowels. But anyways, yeah, you can just see me sort of putting it together here, and I'm just clamping it up. Now, this center section did take quite a bit of time. But once I was all said and done, I just ran the router over the edge. I just did a 1/8 rounder bit, and I'm just doing a hand sanding there, but it did come out really nice. Now I did actually end up here. I'm just putting the finish, or not the finish, but the stain on. Now I used a water base stain, and I really struggled using this. This water base stain it dries extremely quickly. Now I did use a retarder to slow the drying, but it still dries extremely fast. And I mean, the stain job was good at the end, but I don't think I'd ever use this water-based stain again. They just dry so quickly that I really struggled with it, and I had to reapply it quite a few times because I had a couple streak marks in there, and those streak marks just stay and they're really visible. So from now on, I know for myself, I would use an oil-based stain. But hey, if you have a lot of familiar with the water-based stain and you want to leave a comment on there how to, you know, apply it nice and even, then by all means, please do so, because I really struggled with it. By the time I got to the end of the tabletop there, the other edge was actually already drying. So yeah. Anyways, finally, just once it was all said and done, I took some still shots, and you can see that the table turned out really nice. I applied that finish, and the grain popped really nice, and you can see it sort of assembled there in my shop before I delivered it to the customer. And the base, and it's a nice dark gray stain, and yeah, it turned out really good, and you can see it in the customer's house here, and they were really happy. But yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you on the next video. Take care. Bye.